Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Cool. So before we actually go back into this, I wanted to ask you something because I just want to be clear about something that you and Tesh were talking about beforehand. Though it was mostly Tesh and more you, and Tesh isn't here, and this won't be here next week, even though he will be. We were talking about iced coffee, and in the United States, what iced coffee is coffee that's cold with ice in it and cream and sugar versus coffee milk in the United States. I think what you guys call iced coffee, which is what we would call coffee milk. Like, does that look like iced coffee to you? Like literally milk with like coffee flavoring to it?
Pretty much.
Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, I just drank that, and that's us.
Oh, okay, yeah. So same idea. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Because this is from like my favorite farm out in you can't tell because that's green because green's screening it out. But my favorite farm out in Maine, just outside of Portland, called Smiling Hill Farm, where the cows are so sexy, you do them, and the milk is absolutely delicious.
Do you remember when Scott said this last week?
But it wasn't the coffee milk version.
It was. Oh no, what flavor was it? Orange.
It was
Orange milk, yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes like the 50s. All right, so let's get it traveling. So you'll see in the bottom corner over there, there's some numbers kind of thrown into chat, and the reason for that is I was kind of calculating out how long this travel is going to be for them, because it's important. Because if you're not in your kingdom for at least 1 week of the month, you are considered a vacant position. So the party will, of course, be traveling to about here, calculating that out to about here, and then calculating up. So you have, of that travel time, 2 days through forest, then a bunch of plains, and then several days through more forest again to get to Varen. Assuming, of course, the travel goes well. Also assuming, of course, travel goes well, will be... that's 8 hours travel a day is 7 full days of travel there, 7 full days of travel back. So that's going to be a lot of time being consumed by travel. You kind of can't spend a lot of time there. What were you about to say, Neil?
We've already spent a week in town this month, though.
Not really. You had to travel out to your hex, take care of stuff over here. You personally also went over and helped with chopping for a little while, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Awesome. So, why don't we have you guys to make that trek? Obviously, getting on your horses, your quality horses, and you're going to make for me. Also, do you try to conserve time by working your horses a little bit harder, like say, an extra hour of travel each day, or 2 extra hours of travel each day, or no? Let's be conservative to the horses and allow time to flow.
We could do an extra hour a day. My horse is high quality, so it'd be fine.
Okay.
Rip one's horse.
Again. All right, so what I need first then is survival check to be able to navigate across this area with the simple maps that you guys have drawn. And by simple maps, what I actually mean is you have a fucking amazing map in your throne room area, place thing, map room, and you have somebody transcribe that into a scrollable one and bring it with you.
Just take a picture of it on your iPhone.
Okay.
I don't have an iPhone, just for reference.
Take 4 damage for breaking the 4th wall.
Wow,
Alright,
that's
so,
cruel.
do I get like an 8 or anything for my survival?
Because of the map room, you have advantage. Except that doesn't exist, so instead you do have a bonus to it. The DC's lower.
Okay, sweet. Alright.
Oh, easy time. As a matter of fact, right off the bat, I'm going to allow you to shave a little bit of time. I'm going to allow you to pick always the best path, so it's not as difficult for your horses to ride as possible. I need both of you guys to roll me Constitution saves for your horses. Give me 1 second, because I don't think I ever did a stats for your horses, did I? Did I? I feel like I did. 1 second.
You didn't.
I'm just checking because I feel like you're wrong. You're wrong.
Well, you didn't give them to us.
Nope, I definitely didn't. All right, horse.
Um,
And it was a heavy horse. Neither of them are technically combat trained. Right? No. All right, here we go. So, heavy horse. Did I actually make a stat for it? Close. Wait. Did I not do it as a... Oh, as an item. Ha! Ha! Sorry.
Have you done this? Have you heard of this Constitution save business before, Jake? I've not. I don't really know what it is. Constitution is a score, but a save? It's peculiar.
This is going to go to one's journal. One, here is for your horse for making these simple checks and whatnot moving forward. So I'm literally just going to write one's horse. I imagine it's not named, and you're probably going to go through several of them. So we're just going to leave it generic for you for now. Let's just make sure it's the right kind of horse. I believe it is, so you should be fine. You're going to make that fortitude save for that horse, please. I'm going to get you one right now, Neil.
Yay!
And so you can open up that character sheet and you can press the save. So, Neil, yours is a little bit different. Your horse happens to be a bit more sturdy, as we've already talked about beforehand. Horse. Oop. These guys are just randomly appearing on the map. This is going to be... what did you name your horse, sir? Green. Green was the name of the horse, right? Here we go. Green. This is going to go to Rayron's journal. Rayron's journal. Let me just adjust its stats slightly because you'll have a slightly better horse. Character sheet. Wait, what? It's an NPC? Wait, what the fuck? Why did they treat Green like it was a brand new person? It was a horse. They literally turned Green into a new person instead of being a horse. That is weird. All right, well, do me a favor. One, can you just roll for his horse too? And then we'll just I'll make changes to it. I'll fix yours afterwards, Neil. Because we just never had them on there before. Your horse has a better fortitude. Do you want to affect that roll at all? Or are you happy with it?
I want to roll. It's not fair. I guess I will roll a d4 for it.
Okay, you can click the pool of luck.
Jesus, I can't close. Go away. I can't get rid of green. Go away. What is with your spelling of green? It will not close.
You're going to have to refresh this because I deleted it because I was mad because it's not an actual horse. It became a person without stats.
Why can't it be a person?
I don't know. Why can't it be a person?
Now you've ruined everything, Scott.
All right, perfect. So the two of you actually do an incredible job. So let's just sum this up. When you hit to the road, immediately, looking at the map, one, you're able to plot out the path for you guys to take. You end up finding an incredibly good path to follow along. And as you're going along the way, you end up making little amendments and whatnot onto the map that you have there as you go. Your character's not a cartographer. You are not Elliot Man, okay? However, you are able to find
Elliot's
like
not
good
a
paths.
cartographer. He's a linguist.
And he's really good at cartographying as well, as we said in previous adventuring stuffs. So you guys end up doing an incredible job, and because of that, you're able to actually save a little bit of time. So much so that instead of getting there in more or less the very late the 7th day or early morning, more likely on the 8th day, camping out, you're actually able to get there on, like, we'll say later in the day on the 5th day. So you guys are end up able to really save a ton of time. I'm sorry, early in the morning on the 6th day. What am I talking about? I know it sounds stupid, but it matters. Timing does matter. So early in the morning on the 6th day. The other thing I do want to point out is that consistently he's able to like point out tracks and be like, ooh, let's avoid this area over here. There's tracks. One of the other things I also want to point out, last thing before we get there, is Neil. You see right about here on the map, it's right around here where you guys start to notice that there are tracks, but not like animal tracks, not like things that you might want to try to avoid because they're people or because they're animals or whatever, but like people, like a considerable number of them moving about. Too many for him to be able to judge the numbers, but also the fact that they're of different ages as they move about. So you don't have the hard numbers of like, okay, well, it was definitely 15 because maybe it was like 15 before, but 25 now, or whatever it is. It gives you the strong impression that maybe in this area is where you're going to be having Arsugo is going to be kind of over in this region, up inside these woods over here. Either way, eventually able to get to Varen. Now, Varen itself is not a city by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also no village or thorp. it has a pretty large population. Unlike Hodgwen, which is a city, or Forvin, which is kind of like all kind of smushed together, Varian has the population of maybe a small to large town. So, a few thousand people, several thousand people, but very, 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 very spaced out. I don't know if you have examples of this in your own countries, but you have to think of like almost like Phoenix versus Boston, or sorry, Phoenix versus New York City. Like you look at Manhattan, it's a ton of people together, whereas like Phoenix, Arizona is very spaced out for a similar number of people. Don't worry about Googling numbers. So when you kind of riding into the town, you get the impression, of course, at first, like, oh, this place is kind of quaint because, like, over in the area over here, there's a bit of a rise to the altitude. So it's almost like once you start coming across like the houses along the edge, they're very spaced out. And so like, oh, there's a couple. Okay, we're finally getting there. And as you go, it's like, okay, it gets a little bit more dense. But even as you get to like, oh, it just keeps going. It's not like it's like, oh, and then boom, here we're in the city center. No, there really is no true city center because of how sprawling it is. Even in the most dense part, the distance between one building and the one next to it is like a solid like 30 meters, 100 feet or so. Like it is very spaced out wherever you are. And it kind of works out very well because many of the people here that are just kind of like out and about and moving are usually on horseback, just walking about, whether it be a horse or a pony or whatever it is. Many people just moving about are on horseback. It's not like they're obsessed with horses and they have to do so. It's just like if you're literally running a few errands, need to stop by this here, that market over there, and visit my town representative over here. It literally would take you a couple hours to go all those distances, where it would take you maybe a good half hour trotting on a horse, right? Anyways, that's one of the kind of the impressions that you get there. As for the actual like structure of the buildings, they're actually built very well. Being on the edge of some heavy forest, if you're actually looking at the map itself, so let me move this over here a little bit. If you're looking at the map itself over here, you can see that the trees are much more dense to the west of Verin, and then get a bit more sparsed out to the east and south of it. You get the impression as people that are just kind of like walking through the area, and of course you have a map that's a copy of like a map from hundreds of years ago, that over here is all very thick forest. You can even see like over on the edge of the map to the south that the forest continues down there. It probably has been deforested over the course of however many years to build these many, many, many homes that are very sturdily constructed. So you imagine these people don't worry about like heavy weather or anything like that because they can just handle it. As for the people here, one of the things that you notice is that there are a lot of hobgoblins. There's a very strong hobo population inside this area. Lots and lots of hobgoblins. With then, if you had to look at the diversity, probably a solid like 50 to 60% of the populace here is that. And then beyond that, your next largest is going to be human and Perrin neck and neck. And then you'll have like, kind of beyond there. You also notice that out of all the other places that you've seen so far, except for Hodgwen, there's a pretty strong Hafue population here. As a matter of fact, the Hafue, as you're kind of like riding about, they even have their own like little neighborhood that's going to be on the western edge near where the forest is. All right, enough chatting of what it's like as you go rolling into the place. The people here, as you guys come riding in, because you stand apart from them. Both of you were dressed very well. First of all, you dressed for combat. You're put together and dressed for war, for battle. But also, secondly, you're dressed very well, despite the fact that you're on the road for a hard travel of a good, 6 days, the sixth morning, coming in. Despite that, your clothes still look rather clean, especially you, Rayrin. Do you bing him as well?
I don't use prestidigitation.
Oh, you don't?
That's Valrin.
Oh, I just confused.
Rayrin thinks that use of magic is unbecoming. Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. So, one of the things that you notice is, despite the fact that you have a lot of dirt, like filth of the road on you, no bathing or anything like that, you still look very regal. The people here look extremely common. Like, you can literally ride by somebody, and you can clearly tell by, like, maybe...
You see six Scots. They all just turn and look at you, and you're like, whoa.
Take 4 more damage for breaking the fourth wall. 8 damage. How much damage? You usually roll 1 for health, right? Like, yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Like, 1 would be like, oh, no problem. But so you can even ride by somebody, and you can clearly tell by looking at them. Maybe it's the quality of the saddle that they're sitting on is very, but even they are just dressed very common. When you come into the town, what is it that immediately you are looking for? Because you've not really sent anything to Varen yet. You sent somebody to speak to Orsugo.
I guess we would. The best place to start would be to inquire as to whether this group of people that we sent, 3 people, has arrived in town. Slash, whether there's a big inn somewhere that travelers would typically go to, in which case we'd go and inquire there.
How is it you intend to inquire about the people that we're supposed to meet in town?
So I would, there's just people going around their day-to-day business. Rowan would just politely, excuse me, is there an inn in town that travelers are welcome at?
Yep. I'd be like, oh, hello there. Yeah, there's definitely a couple of inns where you might find your way in. You got a mighty fine horse there, if I might say so. You going to be looking to keep that at the inn, or are you looking to keep it separate?
I'm not really certain yet.
Oh, well, then I suppose you better make a decision before you get an answer from me. Good day.
For someone who's trying to sell me something, he really let that go.
But you, even going around and asking different people like where it is, you find out that it is very sprawled out. So despite the fact that, again, that it's not small in population, it's not huge either, but there are 11 inns here. And you imagine it's literally just because there's so much space around that you don't really have competition with anybody around you. So there are 11 different inns sprawled out throughout all this land. If you're looking at the hex that's like on the actual map there, the town takes up like a solid 1/4 of that hex, which would generally be a huge fucking area. All right, enough talking about the land. Go ahead. You go looking around at the different inns and trying to find your peoples.
Yeah, I guess so.
So where? Why don't you roll me diplomacy for gather information? Does your character have a bonus on that, or am I confusing that with somebody else?
My gather information is slightly different.
Yeah, okay, thought so.
And it works like this, so I get +8 instead of +9.
Wait, it's lower instead of higher?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Okay, so subset of diplomacy. So you actually do a really good roll on that anyways, and so walking around and trying to find out where the inns are, you find out the details of all the inns, so on and so forth, the quality of them, blah, 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 right? But you don't find out about any travelers that are wearing similar colors to you or anything like that. You don't find out about them coming into town at all. Nobody says that they've seen any such thing. I'm sorry, Fred.
Huh.
I saw no such thing like that coming in here.
I
Good
can
luck.
do these gather information checks in half the usual time. That's interesting. Okay, I'll presume that they are either dead or busy then.
Mm-hmm.
In which case we should stable up at a inn and ask about who might be in charge around here.
Mm-hmm. So, when you go asking about who is the leader in the town, like what's the structure, so on and so forth, you find out that there is no leader in this town. There's a small council that will help to dictate problems being resolved, but like even then, it's more like they act as like arbitrators between two persons having their dispute, as opposed to more like a judge that says, no, this is the resolution to the problem. So the council, when they kind of like handle this, which is, you imagine every day with the population, people have disputes. It literally consists of an old person that has like, wisdom of their years, mixed with 2 guards to hold them back. Because sometimes when people dispute, it comes to fisticuffs. And so it's one of those things where you got one person to hold back over here, one person to hold back over there, and the old all right, calm down, just calm the hell down, you know. And but for the most part, people just kind of resolve their issues. But if you got a problem with me, I got a problem with you, we can handle this. There's no ruler, no king, no leader. Obviously, your character will be inquiring about stuff like horses as well. We're not going to get too much into it because I know that's something that you intend to do in a minute, probably when Jake comes back. But as for the horses, the different breeding rights belong to different horse owners. You know what I mean? And so, we'll get into more details later on, but it's a more or less like families own breeding rights. Kind of like real life.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, if there's guards, there must be a leader for the guards.
So there would be a captain of the guard. So when you inquire about that, the captain of the guard is a position that is a voluntary position. It's one of those things where if two people try to volunteer, then the other guards literally just get to kind of like choose. Yeah, we like you better. But it's not even like a formal hear ye at a meeting. It's kind of like if two guards are disputing, there's an arbitrator put between them, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that one. And it's literally like a voice vote. Very, very simplistic. But, I mean, nothing crazy. So the captain of the guard can change in crazy times, several times in a month. But usually one person would maintain the position for a few years or several years at a time. As for the guards themselves, they're hired, sure, but everybody's volunteer. Everybody's like, so usually like it's like, oh no, I'm a farmer, but I'm also a guard for like maybe a week of the month, and it's a paid position, but it's like more of a militia than it is like a standardized military.
Mm-hmm.
So you getting kind of like a very laid back feeling from these people here. Even just talking to them, everybody's just kind of like nice. Not like super friendly. Oh, let me get that door for you. But everybody's very cordial. Everybody's just very nice. Like you're from out of town, and very rarely somebody will point it out. But like, oh, you're from out of town. Welcome. You know what I mean? They're just nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I imagine
like
visiting the Netherlands is like.
Osugo is just gonna like run through this town and kill everyone.
Potentially. There are a lot of them, though. Well, in that case, we can stable up in an inn, and we can go and speak to several families with regards to deals for selling us horses.
As for the inn, this is more of a minor detail. You guys want to go for someplace fancy or just an inn?
Someplace fancy.
Raven's not bothered.
Raven's what?
Not bothered.
Okay. So you guys stay at different inns?
No, of course not.
So you go to someplace fancy then. All right. Like, wherever's fine. Someplace fancy. I'm not bothered by that. So you guys go to a fancy place. I'll charge you later on. So when you go there and you spend the night, one of the things you notice the next morning is there's a bit of like, kind of like coming down in the morning, whoever it is that comes down first. You notice a bit of a commotion. Like there's people down like talking off to the side, and it's one of those things where maybe you've ever been to like a small like a diner in like real life, or like into like a small shop. Usually you see it inside like if you visit like a towny kind of place, where like even though everybody in the place doesn't necessarily know each other, but like they maybe have seen each other, but everybody's kind of like engaged in like a room-wide conversation. Like, so there's like a little convo over here, a little convo over there, but they're all kind of also interconversing with one another. Usually, like, might notice this like maybe after the Patriots win the Super Bowl again, and everybody's like, yeah, the Pats are awesome, go Pats. It's just everybody in all of New England just becomes great friends for a day or two, and we all high-five each other because everybody's super mad chill like that. So you kind of come downstairs and you get that vibe. Like everybody down here is having there's like a buzz in the room, and everybody's kind of like communicating with everyone else. He's like, I don't care. I want to go on an adventure But then there's a plot hook, and I go,
uh, Rayron, like he'd go to order a drink and sit down
One would go
rather
with
than
it.
interrupt these people.
So, because of the area over here, there's like good growing area and whatnot. When you order your drink, they have fine stuff here, like juices and whatnot, which are pretty rare, as well as lots of milk. What were you saying, one?
I was just saying that I just go and sit next to Raren.
Okay.
Probably definitely order some juice. Because, yeah.
Roll me a perception check, boys.
A cider, eh? Is that what you're saying? Some juice? Perception.
I love how one rolls a 2, and it's an 11.
It's Pathfinder.
So, the two of you are kind of like sitting there and listening, and once again, like I said beforehand, there's clearly a buzz, but nobody's like, you can't really pick up exactly what it is that they're talking about, but there's a bit of an excitement inside the area. They don't really, you can't really kind of get the vibe without speaking to anybody directly. People kind of come and go. So the people that were originally down here when you came in, when you walked into the area, they're talking amongst each other and kind of hollering back and forth. You just can't quite pick up what the subject matter of what they're saying. Like words, sure, but subject matter, not so much. And even when other people come in, it seems to be more of a buzz with those other people as well. It's not just with this inn; it's also other coming and going.
So I think after a little while of like observing this and like having a drink, maybe they've all acclimatized to their presence. Like, yeah, these people are here. They've been here for a while. Rowan would sort of inquire to one of the nearby locals and like, excuse me, everyone seems to be in a fine mood today. Has something good happened?
Fine mood. Oh, I don't know if I'd describe it like that, but certainly got a bit of an excitement going about. It's the Duchess family. They their farm. It got. I don't know what word you use for it. I don't know. Carnage. Let's just say that.
In that accent is, I really want to just start talking in a terrible American accent. These guys are infectious. In what sort of way do you mean?
Well, they came in just before dawn, and they just killed the entire family, stacked up their bodies, set them on fire, ransacked the house, burned down the house, burned down the barn, burned down the stables, set the fields ablaze, slaughtered a lot of the neighbors around there, but not whole families or anything like that, but took all the horses. And the Duchess family, they had nine dozen horses that were award worthy. I mean, hot damn. It's something.
Indeed. Was there any calling card or information on who it was that committed this act?
Yeah, it's funny you say calling card. Apparently, on pikes, they left 3 heads. People went and looked by them. I mean, they're a bit rotten, so I mean, I went and looked myself. Bit rotten, like flies buzzing around and stuff. So it's not like they look too natural. I mean, I don't know if anything like that could ever look natural, but ain't nobody I ever seen. Nobody in town seems to know who they are.
Thank you. For reference, Jake, in case you missed that, 3 people have their heads on
I
spikes.
got it. Yeah. One would kind of pipe up and say, "Did anyone witness the attack on the whose farm was it again? Or
Duchess family farm.
yeah? Did anyone escape?
Well, like I said, they killed some of the neighbors. They didn't go chasing too far, so some got away. But it all happened right before dawn, straight up until like dawn. So not a good look, from what I understand. they're being held down at the guard, barracks right now. It's just kind of keep them safe or calm their nerves. But oh man, I don't know what they saw, but I imagine nothing good.
So you don't know how many of these raiders there were?
I don't know shit, but they might know something if you want to head down by the barracks. He looks you down and up again and goes, if I might say so myself, you look like you're good for war.
I'll take
He
that as
is.
a compliment. Thank you.
Are you one of them like do-gooders that go around and solve other people's problems for coin?
No, sorry.
Oh,
Once upon a time, maybe we would have been. A different life.
he looks at you and goes, "You look awfully young."
Yes, manner of speaking. Thanks for the information, friend.
Yeah, you're welcome. And he kind of goes back to his business. And then, like, you probably don't even get up and leave. Like, a minute later, leans over, and you can clearly hear the conversation they're having with the person next to them about you. So, what do you guys do from here?
One would just say, Rainer, we should probably hit the barracks. See if we can learn about this. I'm going to assume it was Orsugo.
One would expect that, seeing as we sent those envoys to Orsugo to their deaths, unfortunately. Why does everything have to end in bloodshed?
I don't know. Maybe we're cursed now.
This might seem terribly racist, one. In the Burning Lands, orcs, they, if you were to have a meeting with a, another leader, would it be considered disrespectful if you met with an envoy and not the leader itself?
Depends who you're meeting with. People take different ways.
Do you want to go? We can put this bit on hold.
Yep. You're good.
I'm good. He's right.
Okay.
Well, I'm hoping to avoid this becoming yet another problem. And if the way to do...
To be honest, I think if we had met with him directly, I wouldn't say we'd suffer the same fate that I dare say that they would have tried.
Potentially.
Seems like a different kind of bandit.
Yes, the fact that he burnt the fields and everything seems that he doesn't wish to allow the people to regrow or generate more for him to raid. In a manner of speaking, he salted the earth. Actually, burning is good for crops, I understand, but you understand.
Yeah.
Not burning's better.
Let's go to the barracks and see if we can find out a little more about what happened.
So you guys are going to head that direction. Again, everything's easy to find. Everybody's willing to help you.
Yes.
It's just a matter of getting there because it's a long distance. So the barracks itself is actually situated over on the eastern edge, where it's almost like along the road, along the eastern edge, the road that would lead out of Idir and into Paradel. So when you guys get to the barracks itself, it's actually pretty large. So one of the things that you got the impression of this whole town is everybody's pretty nice, it's pretty sleepy, there's no set guard here. Everybody's kind of like a militia where they all serve somebody. But what catches you off guard is the barracks it's pretty large. And the number of, we're going to say soldiers or guards that are on
militia.
hand.
Call them militia.
Yeah,
That's what they are.
That are on hand at any point in time is actually a pretty good sized number. Like there's a lot of them. I mean, you could imagine if something erupted right now, just with the people on duty, there'd probably be a solid 100 people. Just guessing. So 100 people that
good.
can rush into action, if not more, and that's not including people that are off duty. That would
So
just
it's
be like,
probably
I'm
like-
jumping in.
Probably like 10% of the population that are on duty anytime.
No, I mean, but again, these aren't people that are like trained soldiers, military. It's more like, yeah, I go hunt and I shoot. I know my way around a sword. And they just kind of like enjoy the task of doing this. It's almost like a community camaraderie thing.
Like a neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
They don't usually fight things. Anything, maybe they scare off like a bear or something.
So, anyways, when you go walking up to the barracks, like literally as you go walking up, there's a couple of guards that are having a conversation with one another that are there. You can clearly tell with the number of people that are amassed outside the barracks of like other just like townsfolk that are kind of like having a conversation of what has just transpired recently. There's a bit of a buzz that's going on here as well. The two of you come walking up, and again, you stand out because even the most armed and armored guard out of all of them here isn't as well adorned as either of you, right? So the two of you come walking up, it makes like a bit of a statement, like you kind of stand out as you do so, and so like little whispers of people in the crowd and a couple of the guards, and one of them actually like noticing the other ones will kind of like tap like the person that's talking to like get their attention to be quiet, and he'll kind of like gesture towards you, and you're seeing this as you approach, and then he's like, come on, and so they start walking down to you. About 5 of them are approaching you. One of them kind of like steps forward, and he's like, and they stop maybe like a solid 15, 20 feet away, and says, whoa, you two. Kind of a strange time to be showing up dressed like that.
I understand why you might be taken aback. However, I would counter that it's an entirely reasonable time to be showing up dressed like this. After the occurrence, I should wager more people should be dressed like this.
He's kind of like listens to what you said, and he's nodding. He's like, so you're telling me that you weren't a part of what just happened?
No.
And he's like, sure. And he looks over to one of the guys, and he says something to him, and you can roll a perception check.
Rolling well. Thanks, one.
One,
Let me just put my big one ear horn in. What?
he says to the guy, get the hounds.
One raises his hand and he says, stay there. We are from Valoran. We came to discuss the horses. However, we have heard of your troubles at the inn. You have no need to get the hounds.
He looks to you and says, no need... Oh, sorry. You were trying to make a diplomacy check, so roll diplomacy to convince him. He thinks, actually, I'm going to check one more thing. Oh, don't forget, you can use intimidation for diplomacy, I believe.
I can.
There you go.
I
So,
forgot about that.
are you happy with your 19?
I mean, at the moment, I'm happy with the 19.
Okay. So, diplomacy for an unfriendly character is base DC 20 plus the charisma modifier. So you just barely missed it. So he says, you might be telling the truth. You might not be. But there's one thing I could find out. The truth. Get the hounds. He says to the guy again. And then he walks forward to you. He's got like his hand on like, because they don't walk around usually with, you imagine most of them don't walk around with swords because they're more like putting things down versus like having to kill things. They walk around like cudgels most of the time. But you can see that this particular guy happens to have a sword on him. He walks around with his hand on his sword hilt and makes his way over towards you. And this time he actually is going to approach.
As he approaches, Rayrin puts his hand on his sword hilt.
Okay.
I put my hand on my axe as well.
It's a warning. It's don't. Come on.
He walks. He notices that, of course, and you can see there's a tension in the whole area. Roll a sense motive.
Oh my God! Bless. Oh.
So, specifically Raven, you notice a tension out of everybody in the entire area, like a degree of nervousness, right? For you, one, you notice that literally everybody here is not familiar with combat, is not familiar with fighting. The fact that there is almost like a standoff right now is throwing everybody on edge. And as much as this guy is trying to act like the meat in front of the potatoes, he is very much not very sure of himself as well. He's just putting on a front. He's having I happen to be the positioning of leadership. I need to be this way right now. But you can even see like a bit of sweat on his forehead starting to form as he approaches and stuff like that. He is also unsure of the situation. You get a strong vibe. They're really not looking to fight. They're just handling the situation the only way that they know how to do it, right? Anyways, so or they think they should do it. So he approaches and he gets up close this time. We're talking like pretty much personal space close, like solid like 3 feet away, like a meter away from you is where he's toe to toe standing, and and he stands there and he kind of looks at the two of you, and then what kind of catches you off guard is he goes, like takes in a big deep breath, like he's smelling the air, and then he looks a little like confused for a second, and then he leans in like a little bit, like he like leans another half the distance closer to, like his head almost like between the two of you, and takes another like, and then he takes another half step back, and he like almost like he's judging or analyzing, and then he looks back like as you hear like the hounds, like the chains of the hounds being brought out, or like leathers, the hounds being brought out by the guard that's doing it. There's 3 different hounds coming out with the first guard, another guard behind him is coming out with another 3 different hounds behind them, and they bring them over. And he'll take like another 2 or 3 steps back as he looks to them, and they all lead the hounds over to you. And he goes, "If you ain't got nothing to worry about, you ain't got nothing worried about. Stand still." And so the hounds are just like, unless you guys do anything, they're gonna come over and just start like, and these aren't small dogs, please.
Hold up. What exactly is it you've trained these hounds to do? Because if they detect any smells they recognize, will they bite me?
He looks at you with like a quizzical face and says, "No, they won't bite you. Not monsters. These aren't hounds for fighting. These are bloodhounds." And you look over and you literally see these like, what was it, basset hound? Like the big ones, the big floppy ears and the,
Oh, cute.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. Mathis, Mike, my friend.
I
he
understand.
He had, I think, 3 of these growing up. So if you went into his house, he literally had, I think, like 5 birds in there, like ducks and stuff like that. He had 3 basset hounds. He had, I think, an American bulldog. He had a couple of cats, a bunny. I think he had a Saint Bernard. Like he had like so many fucking animals.
Oh my God, that's a huge dog.
Yeah, no, he had so many fucking animals. It was one of those things when you walk into his house and you're like, "Whoa, there's a lot of animals here." So, but his mom's like super, super pro animal and safety, and like they took in like lots of like rescues. So it was one of those things with those dogs, and they have that kind of like way of barking.
Please clip that. Just that. No context clip.
No context. Moving on. So they come over and they just start, because these are big dogs, and one's a big dude. Rayron isn't that big. He's not small by any stretch, but he's not a big dude. So they come over and they start sniffing you. Like immediately, they all 3 of them are surrounding you and sniffing you. When you're surrounded by dogs of that size that you don't know, and the owner's just telling you they won't bite you, you're like, you still get a little nervous. Sure, you got armor on, but these are dogs' teeth. And then all of a sudden, like one of them starts going over and like sniffing up your leg. Could you guys roll me a animal handling check real quick?
Oh.
Handle animal, Neil.
Handle your animal.
Hey-oh. They're sniffing Rayron. all over and whatnot, and sniffing like right up his butt and over in like his chest and whatnot. One, they're sniffing you, but one particular dog, he happens to sniff you and he like jumps up and puts his paws on you to like sniff like your face or whatever, and then he ends up like you can see on his tone, he looks like a really gentle giant, like just like a really nice dog, and he's like sniffing at you and it looks really nice, and like you kind of give him that like friendly look because it's a dog, it's just a dog, right? Maybe where you were growing up beforehand, it would have been meat, but it's just a dog. And you guys actually have like a small connection. The dog actually like sniffs and gives you like a couple like little licks, like, and like goes down.
Scruff behind the ear.
Oh, there you go. I guess it gets down. Like, yeah, good boy. And they end up pulling the dogs off of you. And he goes, all right. Checks out. You didn't smell like smoke anyway, but it seems like you ain't got no sense on you that we should be worried about. Sorry about the formality. Usually we don't greet, visitors this way. But my apologies. You literally look like you're ready to kill someone, or many someones.
Maybe he'd take his hand off the hilt of the sword and let the cloak sort of go in front, and then he'd say, "Those 3 heads on pikes. They were 3 of ours.
You saw him?
We sent them. We heard rumors about people operating in the forest, and we wanted to find out. We found out."
It's quite a fate you sent some people to. You said you were from Valoran. I've never heard of this place myself, but what position you hold over there?
We function as speakers for the leaders.
Speakers for the leaders. Oh, like diplomats.
Yes.
We occasionally
Or in
get
this case, tradesmen.
we occasionally get some diplomats from those towns over in Paradel. So is that a town over in Paradel?
You really haven't heard of Valorin at all?
Unfortunately, no. We get news over this way, but usually not from too far off.
West of Reed, east of Loshev. About slap bang in between the two, there lies the capital, Kurzful.
That's probably why we haven't heard much about you. You're pretty far out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. We got horses that can bring us that distance and further with no problems. But the issue is, there's not much trade could be happening across that open lands. It's too far.
Indeed.
Not safe.
Indeed. It's not too bad to read, however.
Maybe so. But either way, so you're here on business because you sent the 3 that got killed, and they were left as a message.
We're here on several pieces of business. Those 3 were sent to find out what was going in the forest, and unfortunately they have found out and done their duty, and we need to bury what remains of them.
Well, I think this conversation itself, and no offense to cut you off right here, it might be a bit over my pay grade. Let me stop being a bit rude. And he comes over and extends his hand to shake yours and says, Deputy Buckard.
Deputy Buckard. Nice to meet you. My name is Rayron.
I imagine you want to speak with the captain of the guard.
Would that be most appropriate?
It would. I do apologize. She probably would have been out here before to introduce herself to you by now if it wasn't for the fact that she's trying to calm the nerves of the people that survived. You can imagine the ordeal that they went through. It's hard to get a total death count with the bodies being burnt and all, and kind of like the, let's just say, mess of what they were left behind. But we're guessing it was something like 3 dozen.
Yes. I think if your captain deems it appropriate, we'd also like to have a word with them.
I'm sure she would be more than happy to speak to you, especially with you boys outfitted the way you are. I'm glad to see that things went wrong, and again, I do apologize about the introduction. I didn't mean any offense, diplomat or otherwise. It's just a little uncivil.
You were being safe.
He gives like one of those like nods of appreciation, and then he turns and walks into the thing and looks back and is like, "One moment, I'm gonna go get her. I don't want them people seeing you. You understand."
I do.
and he goes and walks into the building. And now that like the tension in the area is kind of like broken a bit, you can see that everybody above has kind of gone back to rumor talking, so on and so forth. A couple of the other guards actually will come over, like look at things up and down, and be like, "Oh yeah, hey, wow, that's a really nice suit of. Oh, look at, can I see that sword? What the hell is that made out of?" And you know, things like that. One of the other things that the guards do point out is one of them looks down and looks at one's axe, and looks at his own axe. Is pretty sure of himself of the fact that he has a nicer axe than this warrior-looking dude in front of him. It's like, yeah, and then kind of goes back in. So the guy on the inside gets probably has a conversation with the captain of the guard, and eventually he comes out. So the woman that he brings out with him, she herself is actually also a hobo, because there's lots of hobgoblins in the area. Just like, again, when you're thinking of that scene, when you're thinking of everything that's kind of led you up to this point, 50 to 60% of the population here is hobgoblin. And hobgoblins are generally red, different colors or tones of red or whatnot in color, different heights and you know builds or whatever. So anyways, she eventually comes out. She's a hobgoblin herself. She probably stands at a good like 5'4", 5'5". So like the average height of a human woman. The average height of a human woman. Maybe a little bit shorter for a hobgoblin. Kuzun height. And so
Did I mute in time?
Yeah, you were good. I was like, that's perfect. We got to enjoy that face.
I was like, must protect.
Yeah. The worst is like, because I have to mute twice, once for you, once for stream, and it's 2 different clicks. But the easiest thing to do is to click the button on my mic, but it doesn't always click. So I'm like, click. Ah! So anyways, when she comes out, like, so she's like 5'4", but she's actually outfitted the best as you imagine out of everybody here. Like, she's actually wearing like chain enhanced armor and stuff like that. Like, we're talking like really good medium quality medium armor. You can see that the way that she walks, she's comfortable in her armor. She has quality like weapons and everything on her. Again, like, it's good, but it still doesn't stand up to what you guys have about you. She looks like she's probably getting close to middle age for a hobgoblin. They age faster than humans do. So you're guessing maybe like 30-ish, maybe about there, maybe a little younger, late 20s, and makes her way over. As she approaches, she just comes right up to you. No smile, no anything like that. It's just kind of a bit of a sour look on her face. She comes up to you and immediately outstretches her hands to shake yours.
Rowan would shake.
She goes, Captain Hinta.
Hinta. Obviously, I don't say that. I'm just, for my note purposes, just confirming.
Hinta.
Rayrin.
Rayrin ends. She goes to shake.
The one would shake a hand and say, "One."
Hinta. It's from what I understand, you boys also lost some people this day.
Unfortunately, it appears so.
Well, what were your people doing?
Investigating the forest. We'd heard rumors that there were a group of bandits, tribesmen, operating in the area. We thought we'd find out what they were doing there, see whether they were open to tell us why they were there. Seems we got an answer.
You mind having a conversation with me a little bit more private than this? She says, looking around at there's people amassed around. They're interested, they're listening, they're busybodies.
I would prefer that.
She nods and says, come around back. The main hall of the barracks is currently held up with a couple of people that I think might be sent off the edge if they see people like you walking in there dressed as you are.
If you were to deem it appropriate, Captain, we might like to have a word with them.
Maybe I'll deem it appropriate, but first let's get our own talks out of the way.
That was the implication.
Mm-hmm. Did you say that out loud? That's the implication.
No, he doesn't.
And so she walks off with you round the other side of the building, where like it literally is a door that goes straight into like you open up a door and goes straight into a stairwell that goes upstairs above the main area of the barracks. 'Cause again, it's a large building. When you go upstairs, one of the first things you notice is that there's also bunks up here as well. But you can immediately tell by the state of these bunks, they're not like super made or anything like that. As people that have, as a person with a strong military background, Rayward, these aren't people that take like to military life. Like wake up in the morning, have their appropriate breakfast, make your bunk. You know, like it was drilled into you. These are like bunks half unmade with like still a bottle of like liquor. You realize, oh, there's so many people that are part of the guard here because this is the local hangout. This is like where a bunch of people can get paid to literally hang out with their buddies and have minor responsibility.
It's like the wife's like, I'm going to the guard. I'm on duty. And the husband's like, okay. And she's like, oh, thank God. Goes there, sits down, gets out the bottle of drink, gets out the cards.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bill's been busting my ass.
Oh, so beautiful. So anyways, my apologies. So you go in there, you walk through that area, then you go through like a back area where you can tell like this is supposed to be the a room that is with a combination of the captain of the guards like bedroom where her bed and whatnot is, and it's like where her desk and everything's set up. So it's a pretty good sized room. She's a lot of like natural light that comes in there, as well as a couple of like lamps set up for evening work. And as you go walking in, she gestures for you guys to sit down. So she gestures like if you want to have a seat at her on her bed, as she goes and takes a seat on her chair that she has by the desk. She takes like her wooden chair, carries it like 2 feet away from the desk, closer to the bed, turns it about, sets it, and she goes over and like gestures to the bed, have a seat, and then she sits down in her chair.
Riri like sits down a little awkwardly on the bed. He's like, it's like he goes to sit down, but it's like he like gets in position above the bed and then just like.
The drop into frame face was hilarious.
like crosses his legs and sits there like.
We've all been there in high school, going to like your friend's house, and you're like, you never really liked that guy. He's kind of like the kids that your parents told you not to hang out with, and then like now you're sitting on his bed, and you're like, I don't know. So anyways, so what she has, you sit down, she goes, so I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I think you caused this. I'm not trying to break balls or nothing like that. I'm not even trying to ask for an apology or say that I even deserve one. But Orsugo has been in the area for a bit, and he's been doing his shit for a while. We've kind of left him be. He's kind of left us be, and he's kind of been doing what he's doing out there. Now I understand. Maybe one day he would have gotten the sack built up enough to come in here and do what he's trying to do, but nothing triggered it so far. Then all of a sudden, 3 heads and a pikes belong to a couple of diplomats that are sending over to talks. He probably misunderstood where the hell you were coming from, and now he's at our door.
Well, that's an interesting point of view.
What's yours?
I think my point of view is we have a lot of dead people on our hands.
Stating the obvious is a good start, I guess.
Stating the obvious should be the start, rather than jumping to conclusions.
Maybe you didn't have to deal with the smell that I did this morning, but there's a lot of fucking dead innocent people that were burnt. It's gross. It's nasty. Nobody should have to deal with that. Either getting chased down, hunted, killed like that, watch their family mowed down in front of them, feel their community is up in arms, or having to clean up the mess afterwards. Nobody should have to deal with any of that shit. Nonetheless, here we are.
Do you have any other lectures to give?
You say that. Do me a favor. Roll me an intimidation check.
Oh dear.
That is literally the point you're making. Like, back the fuck off, lady. Oh, nice. Nice. And that's it. No more left in chat. Beautiful. So you do that. It's funny because, all right. So you do that, and she listens, and she nods and says, "You know what? Good point. I It's been a bit of a rough morning, as we've already just discussed. I don't mean to come off too strong. You're just people visiting, and I'm sure you meant no harm. Whether or not that harm was caused by you, I'm sorry. So, let's start this over.
I think I would like to apologize for what has happened to your people if it has been sped up by my people. However, I think what is clear is that this Orsugo character is not above doing this, and therefore it would have happened sooner or later.
It's a problem either way. Whether if it was happening in the middle of the winter, in the spring, whatever it is, you just don't really expect someone to come and be doing this shit in the middle of the winter, do you?
I would have expected it more now than ever. During the winter, food is scarcer. You say, well, one of the townspeople told us he stole 24 horses, perhaps?
No, more than that, about 6.
Horses make good eating, even ones as fine stock as they have in Verum.
You say that, and she nods, like you can tell immediately on her face that clearly she's had horse meat many times before.
Tell me, what do you know about this Orsugo?
Well, first off, ain't no one ever seen him, at least as far as I know. So it's more a matter of rumor of people that have kind of fought him and escaped, and like maybe talked to either our town or other towns nearby. Kind of like left a little detail from there. First off, one of the things I have to say is if the description is right, and she looks over at one and says, well, let's just say the fact that you're awfully quiet and meet well enough the description. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying he's an orc? Or a half?
Nods.
That was the impression I had as well. As bad as that may be. The question is, who made the decision to leave Orsugo in your woods, so close?
Could you say it one more time?
Who made the decision to leave Orsugo in the woods, in the forests, unchecked?
It's not exactly a matter of making a decision. It's a matter of we only have the people to protect our lands. It's not exactly like there's an army marching about and curing up these problems. This is Idir, and not wherever it is that you're from. In Idir, there's not exactly armies about. So you protect your lands, you keep your people safe, and you hope that everyone keeps to themselves.
Respectfully, it doesn't look like you're able to protect your lands.
I know, which is why that deal that's coming out, up our way from Hog Glen might not be so bad. Honestly, they're offering to solve the problem for us, and honestly, what they're asking in exchange, kind of a big old pain in the ass, but if it fixes this problem, it fixes this problem.
Brayron would glance at one.
He just stays pretty quiet. He looks at her and says, I don't know what he says. I don't know.
We are keen to avoid having you form closer relationships with Howard Gwen. That would jeopardize our position in terms of getting horses and other supplies.
You just came to get stuff for trade.
Yes.
So what are you offering?
I'm not offering anything just as of yet. I'd like to speak with the people you had downstairs.
She looks at the two of you and says, I know you're not guilty, or at least I don't believe you're guilty. No signs point to saying so. However, you'll excuse my suggesting this. If you stay up here, I think it's probably a good idea that they not see you lest they get a misinterpretation of the situation. As for you, Rayrin, yeah, I could see you going down there. But again, it's a matter of posterity and making the people down there feel a bit safe.
I've been through what they've been through, or something similar.
Then you won't mind the guard that are standing on either of your side. No weapons out, nothing threatening, nothing like that. But to just make sure that they know that there's a comforting face and presence that are immediately right there, rather than, you know what I'm saying?
Of course. I'd rather not put these people through more suffering.
I just noticed a GIF that appears when people like drop Pool of Luck, like a random zombie. How did I never?
Yeah, didn't you know that?
No, because it's over there. Like it's like all the way to the far edge of my screen. So it's
Are
like,
you ready, chat? Professional streamer.
It's like on the edge of my it's like 120 degree out, right? So I'm like, oh, why does it do that? Did it always do that? I'm gonna have to get rid of that shit. The fuck's that random GIF? It's literally like when you use Streamlabs. That's the generic GIF for everything.
Is it?
It's the generic GIF for everything, and so I eliminate it off of most things and put in my own little ones here and there. But
I think it's very appropriate being there. It's kind of like you, yeah.
All right. So anyways, so you of course agree to those terms, and she you say you need a GIF of you barking like a dog. That could that could work.
Oh, he's just giving you more material. Extended GIFage.
So my apologies. Continuing on. So she said you agree to the terms, and she's like, I'll bring you down to introduce you. Then I'll come up, and maybe Juan and I can have a bit of a talk and get a bit more understanding of Valorant, while you probably try to figure out what you can from them people.
Sure, but no drawing weapons. He looks sternly at one.
One just says, make sure you come back in one piece.
Obviously.
She looks back at the two of you and goes, you do realize it's just me and you up here having a chat, and you're going down to talk to a whole bunch of rattled common folk, right?
It's having a chat on your bed.
Her face drops at that. She actually gets like her posture completely changes. She like very much gets like 2 and 2 never clicked for her beforehand, but you can tell like, flat out you just insulted her. And she says, why don't we introduce you to them town folks so we can get to the bottom of this situation?
Oh, she takes her job very seriously for a captain who isn't voted in. Oh dear. Oh well.
Let's go. And she like walks past you.
I don't say that in.
No, I know. It's like one of those like awkward silence, and then she like it's one of those things where as she walks past you, it's one of those like she brushes you as she goes, but not like she brushes as she passes, but like almost like a shoulder nudge as she goes by, and leads you to the other stairwell. That's through the like a different door up in the upstairs. That's kind of like the main stairwell one would use to get up and downstairs, interior access, and lead you down into the area. Kind of like introduces you to the two guards. They're gonna be like, "Oh, this is Rayrin." She's like, "This is Rayrin. He's gonna talk to the other people around here, see if he can get some information. Those 3 dead were his, you know." Kind of like, "Oh, okay, you're gonna fill in, and you're gonna go down and talk to the people." As for the survivors that are down here, there's about 17 people. that happen to be about. So it's not necessarily going to be a one-on-one conversation. It's more of gather information check, and then we can cherry pick one-on-one conversations. After that, she's going to go upstairs to have her conversation with one, so you can have like I suppose a one-on-one. But that conversation ends up leaving her office and being had inside like the bunk room with the two of you standing. It's not one of those things where she's like, let's go in there. It's one of those things like she's making herself busy as she's kind of like going about doing it, as she's clearly like overreacting to the statement made by Rayron. And all of that's going to take place after this break.
We get breaks? Oh my god, I forgot. It's been so long.
Shut up, Neil.